Hello, everyone. This is Craig again. This is my channel, Israel Chat Bible. And Adam has a channel, King Israel Seeds. And we have a website, www.seedsadam.com. This is part two of the video we were doing on, I don't know exactly what it's going to be titled, but it's the why and how the Bible has been changed. And we did a very good job in video one. There are a few things that are left that we didn't get to. And well, one thing that you could know and is if you got a Bible in front of you and you're reading it, and it does edify, it does do good things, but things have been rewritten in it to hide truths. And you might say, well, I don't think that's not happening. I don't I don't see that. Well, you could be in a church with idols, with crosses on the wall. You could be you could be in Buddhism. We're not excluding other religions. I'm not just talking about Christianity. You could say that I don't believe Emmanuel was the son of God. He was just a normal man. And I know they teach that in different things and like Jehovah Witness and stuff. Um, and Muslims, they recognize him, but that's just like a prophet. And then there's like I said, I was gonna. This might be one of the main subjects we talk about is Constantine instituted Jesus's birthday, who we call Emmanuel. Now they did this probably because it reflected some other pagan ritual, which I don't know the exact name of, but they just basically incorporated and said, "Hey, God has to have a birthday. We have birthdays. God has to have one." And we all know that it's Christmas, and that is wrong teaching, because if you're going off the word of God, and the God never changes, the Father never changes, and he writes all his feasts and festivals in the book of that Moses wrote in the Deuteronomy, Leviticus, Numbers, Exodus. It talks about the feasts and holidays and feast days. And, Christmas is not in it at all. His birthday is not in it. And if you understand some of our previous teachings, he works through a temple, and he's been in 8, Adam, Enoch, Noah, Abraham, etc. So he would not have one birthday, and his blood runs through all of us. He's not trying to have his birthday celebrated. So Adam, I'm gonna bring you on. Come on.
Hello.
Hello. So we're continuing just to get on a few points from our last video. We touched on a lot of stuff, how the Bible's been changed, and somebody may say that if they just wanted to say we're nitpicking and saying, well, this word means this and not this, but then they're sitting in a pew looking up at a cross or a statue, and they are talking about having Christmas dinner at their church, and they're not maybe going to see what we're trying to tell them. But the feasts have been changed, and idolatry is a problem. To tell you that the words have been changed, you're being taught wrong, and you are being instructed by false teachers. And then, of course, he gets into, other holidays. You got Easter, you got Halloween, Thanksgiving, 4th of July. And then if you're in another country, it could be, I'm talking mainly ones in the US, but even in other countries, you got a bunch of holidays that aren't from the Bible. And sorry, hold up, everybody. Hello again. I know we just took a pause, but we were looking at some things. Um, the Romans took from the pantheon of gods that were the Greek gods, and their main father god was called Jove or Jove, which is very, very similar to Jehovah.
Mhm.
Zeus sounds very much like Jesus or Jesus, which that's how they say it in Spanish. And they also they started to lift up this god Helios or Helios. I don't know the exact pronunciation, but it was like the sun god. And he was often depicted with that halo of light, the halo of sun behind his head. And I know that you've all seen this religious artwork because it's pretty much in every picture, even of like Mary and the sun, like she's holding the baby, Emmanuel, and he has the little light halo around his head. It all comes from, and then Constantine, obviously, he merged these things, and he said when he looked at the sun, he saw a cross, and then when you look at the sun, like images of Emmanuel, he has that halo. And I think all the disciples too. I mean, even the church right down the street from me's got them all with that halo, like on the wall, like outside. It's you can't escape it. So you know what I'm talking about. You don't need you don't need to say, oh, you got that from the internet. That's baloney. Just go down the street and look at a church. I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
So you got, again, it's spelled Jove. I don't know the exact Roman pronunciation of that, of the god of Jupiter, but it's very similar to Jehovah. And then, so these things have crept their way in. I mean, to say that they haven't, you're lying to yourself. And then to get back to what I was saying before, Constantine was the one that started having a birthday for Jesus, which we know as Emmanuel, and we'll say it's Christmas and all these other names that are attached to that, where you decorate a tree and you give gifts, and people love this holiday. And as soon as you say that it's wrong, they'll hate you. They will. They really love it. But where does Moses talk about Christmas? Well, no one cares about Moses. If they did, they wouldn't even put up with this. And so that's, again, it goes back to where things have been changed and altered. You have a holiday that you say is the Father's birthday. And again, he has many birthdays. His blood's in every one of us. So there's no point in celebrating a birthday. And he would want you to follow the feast days that he set forth through his prophet, Moses. Not one that you merged with paganism and made something. He hates that. He does not like that. Again, we were talking about that earlier. It's just like he doesn't even really like you singing to a false name. He wants you to be humble and, to give up everything you own and to go and represent him and speak truth to somebody and teach them. There really isn't any place for song. And songs are more or less like, especially if you're singing it in a false name, it's just like, and then you'll call one band like, oh, they're the devil. And you just don't understand anything. I feel like the words are escaping me, but yes, I know people love to praise the name and sing, but he said, go forth and teach all nations. He didn't say go forth and sing. Well, first off, you're singing in a false name. You're singing the Jesus, and it's not even Jesus.
Mhm.
And if you're like, well, Passover is Easter. Well, first off, you're not understanding it completely. And then you attach a bunny to it and coloring eggs and kids running around looking for colored eggs. I mean, again, you're not going to get all of this right, but to say that things haven't been changed and altered, and you are living in an altered state. Now, you can accept that sin is around you, but what we're really trying to focus on in this video is not so much that you're surrounded by sin, it's that you're in sin and then you say everything's fine by saying this is how it should be, and say, oh yeah, we should do Easter and Christmas and say a wrong name. If you're there, that's where the real sin is. That's where the blasphemy is. That's where the unforgivable sin is. I mean, yes, you're not going to be perfect and get everything right, but if you recognize that Sabbath is a Saturday, that Christmas is not a holiday that you should celebrate at all, and you recognize these things, and you may have to put up with it because you got family members and this and that, but you're trying to teach them. Again, you're not going to be able to save everybody, but you have to be a representation of Israel. You're gonna go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing. I guess you want to.
Yeah, you're agreeing. I feel like I'm getting a little lost on exactly where the subject should go.
Well, I think what you're trying to also tell the people, and I'm just going to speak a little bit from what we know of this Helios, which is from the Greek before Rome took them over. And it says this Helios is often depicted in art with a radiant crown. So that's your sun halo that Craig was talking about there, artworks. And driving a horse drawn chariot through the sky. So we're at least seeing that picture of, which is this whole rapture thing. And we always see this picture of Emmanuel on a horse, or Emmanuel walking, but he's in the clouds. And there's all these, children of Israel, which they call saints, behind them. And this is where you get it from, folks. You get it from the Gentiles, from paganism. Driving a horse-drawn chariot through the sky. I mean, when did he tell Abraham, I'm going to take you up in the sky? He never did. He said, I'm going to give you a land, you're going to inherit, you're going to be a great kingdom, and all the kingdoms are going to bow down to you. If you go to the prophecy Isaac gave his son Israel, he says right there, all your brothers shall bow down to you. So nowhere in the blessings that Isaac gave his son Israel, nor in the blessings of the father giving to Abraham, does it say that you're going to be taken up in the clouds to meet this pagan god, this Helios.
Helios is often called Hyperion, the above one, and then his son is called Pathon, the shining one.
There's your morning star.
Yeah, that's where we get morning star from. And they have many gods. I mean, the planets are named after their gods. The months of the year are named after their gods.
January, Janus.
Yeah.
All our months, and our calendar is by a cycle of 12 months, and I don't know how many, 365 days, where Enoch, it tells you 364 days. And there are calendars out there already, but we can't use them because of this Gentile kingdom that we live in. But there are international calendars which basically tell you is 13 months and 28 days. Well, it'll be 13 months because it's going by the 13 children of Israel, the 13 gates. So there's 13 months and there's 28 days, which adds up equally to 364 days, which is what Enoch talks about.
Yeah, and you have a description of the children kind of almost being like zodiac type symbols. I mean, there's one girl, Dinah, and there's one constellation or whatever they call it.
Well, they have twelve
Virgo,
zodiacs.
it's the
Hold on.
only girl.
Yeah, they have 12 zodiacs, but right there, they twist it by saying instead of the 12, or it's technically 13 zodiacs, by the way, because you have Ophiuchus, which didn't come out to be revealed until 2012.
Yeah,
Um, but you always had it. So you have 13 zodiacs, and everyone's been reading newspapers saying, "Oh, I want to look what my zodiac sign is." Well, everyone's been believing a lie because there's actually 13, not 12. So right there, you're believing a lie within a lie. But there's actually 13 because you have, you know, it's Leo, Lion as well, Judah. Come on, folks. Leo is Judah. Levi is uh Libra, the scales, the judge. Reuben is Aquarius. I mean, it tells you this in Genesis chapter 49, folks. The only one that leaves out is Dinah, which is Virgo. Sagittarius is Gam. Um, what's the other one? The
Dan was
Gemini,
like Scorpio or something.
Dan is Scorpio. Yeah. And then Gemini is Simeon.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
what.
because you have Judah as Leo, you have Levi as Libra, so Simeon is Gemini. So what you're
Yeah, and
supposed to
then
do,
like Asher is
the Taurus, Issachar is the Taurus.
what's Virgo? Or is Virgo? Virgo is Dinah.
Yeah. Ophiuchus is Joseph.
Um,
Benjamin.
Capricorn, I think, is Zebulon.
Mhm.
Anyway, that part, well, we might be off a little bit, but there is like stuff there that just totally relates to a zodiac that we use today. We just give it a different name of a god or a person that has some resemblance to. But basically, you got to understand the Father created all things. All things come from Him. If He puts signs in the sky to talk about His 12, or sorry, 13 children, of course He could do that ahead of time because He's God, and He did that as a memorial to us for all time to put those in
Remember.
the sky, remembrance. And then He also tells us that the children of Israel shall be as the stars of the sky, shall number as the stars of the sky. And it is a representation of that because we get like we don't get many now because of pollution, but you get somewhere clear and you look up, it blows your mind, how many stars there are.
Well,
And
this is going to get in real quick to what Craig is going to say about these relics. But the thing is, you have, it says in Leviticus, I believe, or somewhere in one of the four books, well, technically five, but that Moses taught, which is, do not make any graven image of heaven, earth, or underneath the earth. Well, we make graven images of many creatures in the sea. We make graven image of many things on land, and we make graven image of many things in outer space. So it's telling us, do not make these graven images. Well, why? Because when you put them in a picture form and the eyes see them, this is how people go astray because they start worshiping. Now, what does the definition of worship means? It means that whatever you believe in, you're going to meditate all the time, day and night. That's what it means to worship. That's how you worship because it's in your mind, it's in your heart. You get excited for this. That's what it means to worship. Worship just is another word to serve. Worship and serving is the same thing. So people are serving and worship these graven images and don't understand what their meaning is. So as Craig was saying, as the stars, as the sand for the sea, and as the stars without number. So when Emmanuel was talking about, referencing the sun, referencing the moon, referencing the stars, all of these things that the Father also was saying while he was speaking through his prophets and everything, was all these are not supposed to be something that you look at to serve or worship, but instead you should see these things as his works. You should see these things as a reference to what you want. Because how can an entity reference his own works to images of himself? He's not going to speak to you like we hear each other. If we heard a spirit's voice, just spirit, we would die. And that's what he tells Moses. If you saw me, you would die. So if you actually heard his actual voice in your ears would blow. Because we are physical. And then, come on, folks, a storm, you're looking at spirits that manifest in an appearance. So how much more of these UFOs? Everything we see in our life is nothing more than spirits that take on a physical manifestation. And that's what we are too. We're a spirit. That's what Adam was and is. So he has spirits that work everywhere. But it says in scripture, he dwells in his holy temple. So he dwells in his holy people, which is the flesh, blood, and bone. And that's the difference between his idol that he made, which was the first idol he made was Adam. And then we are all idols of Adam, which means image. But instead of recognizing we're the image and idol, we make image and idols with our own hands. And these are now what is it?
Saints.
No, it begins with the Nars, the one you were going to talk about.
Well, first off, I was going to talk about relics.
Yeah, these are relics now, which are idols. So we are supposed to be
a little deeper than they would go to a tomb of a person, of a saint or a martyr that had passed. But what happens with these saints and these martyrs is sometimes they would be associated with something, and it would be like, he's the saint of travel. They'd be like, oh, I'm going on a long journey. I need his blessing. So they would go and rub their clothes on the tomb, and then the relics started coming out of it, where they actually had pieces of that person, like their fingernail or their finger or their hair. It's really gross. And that that would have the blessing and be holy. And if you rubbed it or touched it, that blessing would go on to you. So these churches started to have these relics. And then I was studying on it, and then a problem that started to happen was they would have fake or counterfeit relics. Well, that tells you if there's people making fakes, that there was money involved. So these churches were making money on the fact that they maybe had a piece of Peter or John or some other saint in their church. People would come and they would make money off of this. Well, fakes.
They do now with making statues of Emmanuel from the Shrine of Turin. People coming over there and looking at the statue of what is the body of Emmanuel. And people are paying to see this.
Yes. So these churches basically had to do away with it because it was getting out of hand, because people then started to go, well, I'm not going to come because I don't know if it's a real one or a fake one. But so this relics thing did have a period of time. I'm sure there's things that still exist, but it's not necessarily as big as it used to be. But the church also had a problem with selling indulgences, and that was a way of, like, for you to indulge in sin, and you would just pay them and then you could get away with it. Or they would kind of do it to where, your loved one didn't make it because they were a bad person. And then if you pay indulgences, maybe they'll get out of that purgatory and make it into heaven.
So instead of doing it with the money, now they say you just do a Hail Mary prayer. You just do these prayers and you're forgiven. You just do these prayers. That's paganism. Because where does it say you're to pray? It says you're to meditate, not pray. Did Emmanuel constantly pray? No, he meditated.
Yeah. And well, meditation and prayer are a way of talking, right? You're
No,
talking.
praying is the way of talking, because prayer, the Greeks, or not the Greeks, the Gentiles, like Egypt and all that, when they had idols, they would pray onto them to talk to them. Now, the Old English word for asking and begging is pray. Oh,
Okay.
I pray thee. Oh, I ask thee. Oh, pray thee, you can give me something. Oh, I beg you that you can give me something. So we see here that the old word for pray, that when we're using it in a speaking term, means to ask and beg. It doesn't mean to get down on your knees and talk to a statue. But that's what the Catholics taught. So and then meditation means to focus. The meditation, you're not speaking, you are focusing in your heart and mind on the history, on the word, on the prophets, on the work you're doing at
Yeah.
any given second. So we meditate daily, all the time. We whether it's be meditating on our job or meditating on saving up money for a goal or meditating on a lustful thing. I mean, you're meditating always on something. So you're supposed to meditate on the word, on the history, on the prophets, and on the laws and commandments.
Yeah. And then meditation itself, you focus, if you're studying meditation as a study, I don't know every in and out of it, but it is about concentrating on your breathing, and which is spirit. Your breath is spirit. So to concentrate on that, you are concentrating on the spirit. The Father is spirit. You're slowing your heart rate. Well, what runs through your heart? Your blood. Your blood is spirit. So, and you are focusing on spirit, and you are concentrating on how you breathe and how your blood and your heart rate, and all is spirit again. Meditation is somewhat like similar to what practice, but they kind of like take it to where you don't have any thoughts, you clear your mind. And what we're trying to say is, you calm yourself, but then you're meditating on the word of God. You're thinking about the word of God. And I don't really want anybody to just say words like a mantra, like over and over. That's not what we're trying to say.
No, but even meditating on, like in Buddhism, how they meditate is sinful because they're meditating, they're teaching you, oh, look at the works you can do. You can focus on controlling your breathing. You can, meditate on the chakras. How are you meditating on the word by doing that? What you're doing is you're meditating on doing a work that you're taking pride in doing. Where did the prophets ever tell you to do this? Nowhere. So to believe in doing some kind of level of chakra is basically a way of meditating on making yourself higher than the prophets, because you're to have one mind and speak the same thing. So
Okay.
it's idolatry then. So what Buddhism is telling you is, first of all, it has a different teaching, because Buddhism is trying to find a balance to all things. Well, then how can you judge? How can the light judge the darkness? Come on now. You have to be one or the other. It says you will love one master and hate the other. You can't serve two masters. So what Buddhism is all about teaching, you can serve two masters. You can have your cake and eat it, as they say. Well, you can't do that. You can't serve two masters. And that's why Buddhism is idolatry, is paganism.
Yeah. And then, we were touching on, idols, and definitely the Buddhism is very much like the idols that were prevalent back in the days of these prophets, and they had to deal with it because they would deck them in gold and silver, make them shiny and pretty, and they would burn
Burn
incense
incense.
and set food before them and clothe them and dust them off and keep them clean. And so yes, in the Christian church you don't have that, but you have
Yeah,
a cross hanging on a wall.
yeah,
You're
you
not.
do. It's a cross with a person on it.
Yeah, some of them, some of them don't have the person on it, some of them do. But what we're trying to tell you is you your idolatry is maybe not so much centered on around the statue and burning incense to that particular statue,
Mhm.
but you're
The-
facing a person with a cross behind them that's up on an elevated platform looking over at you on a podium, and it is a man.
Mhm. And it says too, wherever your heart is, that's where your treasure lies. So wherever your reward, wherever your heart is, and what you desire, that's where you're saying your reward is. So if your heart is in the things you want to get with your money, well, that's what your reward is. So your reward would be the car, or your house, or your land. Um, if your heart is statues, then your reward is to fill your whole house or your walls with these things. Um, wherever your heart is, that's your treasure. So many people do this in churches and in Buddhism everywhere in the world. Muslims is their mosque. Jews is their temple. That's their reward.
Yeah.
So your reward should be the comforter. So your heart should be watchful, looking for the comforter, looking for a prophet that would reveal everything. That's where your reward should be. And people aren't looking for that. So they're not looking for the reward of the Father. They're saying, oh, he's going to come in the clouds. Oh, I'm going to be raptured up. Or, you know, in whatever different religion, oh, there's going to be another Buddhist that's going to come. There's going to be, whatnot. And it doesn't tell you that. So we're not saying that the Bible is complete, it is not useful. We're saying that if you don't recognize the flaws in this book, you're not going to recognize who is a false teacher.
Yeah.
And you're not going to recognize the comforter then. That's why it's critically important to understand how the Bible has flaws.
Yeah.
And there are people that do understand that. And they've been on YouTube, they've been talking about the Bible has been tampered with, the Bible's been messed with. And they're absolutely right. But then some of them go to the extreme to say, well, why should I even use this? Why should I believe in this? Why should I follow it? Because the history and the truth is there, but is covered over by these um these errors that's in the Bible, so that not just anyone can know and understand the truth. So if the Father said there's going to be a group of the seeds of Adam that are going to hate me, well then there has to be works that they're going to do.
Yeah.
If he says, thank the Father for hiding these words from the wise and prudent, there has to be a way that was manifested.
Yeah.
So you see, it's the Father's doings that sealed the words in the book, so that not just anyone could come out and say, I know the works of the Father. He says, the only people that know me are my people who believe in me. Well, then that makes it confusing in our text. You're like, well, what's the name then? Isn't it Jesus? No, he makes it clear it's always been by the name Israel. Now, he gives you hints in the Bible, such as the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and then count the number, which is 666. You have to count the number. Therefore, it's no longer 666. It is 18. So then you're not looking for a number of a man. You're looking for a name of a son of Adam. That equals to be 16 digits. Or no, not 16, 18, sorry. 18 digits. Because 6 times 3 is 18. So that's what you're looking for. And it says in that verse of Revelation, count the number. If you're given a math problem, do you say that's the answer? No, you fail. You're given a math problem, now you have to solve it.
Yeah.
And the only way to solve it is you need wisdom and understanding. And it tells you that right there in that verse. He who hath wisdom, um, he here is wisdom. He who has an understanding. So it's saying this is full of wisdom. Wisdom is deep truth. Deep truth is wisdom, deep truth. Not just anyone can have wisdom. And then here, he who hath an understanding. Understanding is knowledge. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. That's Hosea says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So you need some knowledge. You need some history.
Yeah.
So if you're given a math problem, which is that 6 times 3, and you don't have the history nor the wisdom to count this, then you're going to believe lies. Oh, it's the number of the devil. Well, come on, folks. Open your eyes. If there's no devil because the Father works good and evil, then that right there shows a flaw in what they're teaching. It's really that simple. And this is why we're trying to make these videos to explain to you. And we dig up history for you. We're trying to compile them. There's other people, if you watch their videos, they're really good at talking about the Roman history and the Roman gods and how it got into the Bible. There's other people that are greater in explaining this stuff. But what they don't exactly know is the correct way to change the words to reveal the truth in the Bible.
Yeah. That is a key point right there. We had to make this video to understand, to let you understand that there is a key. Like, I give the keys of the kingdom to you. I think he says that to Peter.
Mm-hmm.
A key unlocks a certain way, a certain door. Again, he says, I am the door. He says, I am the path. He tells you, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No
No,
other.
no, hold on. I gotta stop this. Yes, it says he gives the keys, but it's not keys, it's manna.
He gives you what?
He gives Peter manna, not keys. The keys and manna is the same thing, but the keys would be a symbol to, yes, unlocking, but he's talking about manna. He gives manna to Peter. And then what is this manna revealed as? Manna, Peter is telling people what page, what scriptures that they're bringing to him is correct and incorrect. So what basically keys means authority. So he's giving the authority for Peter to reveal or hide the manna, because it says whatever you hide will be hidden in heaven. So whatever you you, what's that? Hold on, folks. Let me, because I can say it, but I'm not gonna say it word for word and how everyone recognizes it. So hold on.
Oh, what? Real quick, while you're looking for that, what I was trying to say is, like he says, "I am the narrow road," and there is the wide road. Now, the wide road is easy, the narrow road is hard. So I was trying to point out that more or less, like, the way they teach it wrong is easier and is less involved in it. You don't have to know as much. You just show up at a church and you just, like I said, we're talking about, you just say a prayer, you just listen to the sermon, you sing a song, and none of these are helping you as far as your salvation. The narrow road is knowing the history and being Israel, a child of Israel, knowing the name of the Father. I mean, these things your heart should want to know these things. Um, so again, we're not trying to get specific on like what Council of Rome or Nicaea or any of those that where it got this word got changed or this particular thing got changed. You can go down the street to any church and just see it for yourself. I mean, you don't have to go back in a time machine. It's right in your face, right around you, and they're all preaching in the false name. So even if they do know, there are videos out there that do point out that they changed stuff. Well, what's the reason it was changed? It was to hide things from you. And that narrow road is when you stand on it and say, I'm Israel, they're going to go, what church is that? Where is that church? I never heard of that. Is that like this or is it like that? Or they'll go, where is your church? These are things that have happened to me. And they go, where is your church? I'm like, well, I do it mainly online and over the phone. Like Adam and I don't live in the same city, but we try to. Again, this is going to happen. Israel's going to rise up all over the place. You have to connect yourself with other people. It's not about being in a building. And go ahead.
Um, are you done with what you want to say?
Yeah.
So the scripture I was trying to explain to people is this: Matthew 18:18. Truly I say to you, whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. So it's saying, whatever ye shall hide, bind, bind means to hide. So again, the keys are actually manna, because the keys are the authority. But what are we talking about? We're talking about the manna, which is the word. So verily, truly I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall bind, hide on earth, which is Gentiles, shall be bound in heaven, which is Israel. And whatsoever ye shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. So we're talking about a hiding and revealing. So we're not talking about earth and heaven. I mean, this is Matthew. Are you telling me that the disciples were able in that time to hide all this stuff? No. So where are they hiding? Where are they hiding? Remember what it says in Matthew, thank the Father for hiding these things, these words from the wise and prudent. So what the disciples fulfilled? They fulfilled in hiding certain scrolls and certain things. That's why you have the Dead Sea Scrolls. Hiding certain things and revealing certain things in their time period. This is what Matthew's talking about. So they had the keys. It's not just Peter, but it was also like John. John had the keys to talk about Revelation. Peter didn't have those keys.
Yeah.
So the keys weren't just given to Peter, they were given to all the disciples. So that doesn't mean keys, which we see pictures of Peter at the gate of heaven having the keys. No, you okay, I guess right. But you're believing things that are there. It said, do not write, do not draw any graven images of heaven, earth, or underneath the earth. But you did. You drew pictures and you got people believing this stupid stuff. Keys mean authority. So the disciples had the authority to heal. They had the authority to resurrect. They had the authority to do all these things that Emmanuel gave them. That's what keys mean. So then the manna is the word. We know this because we know what manna means. It means a word. So this is Matthew 18:18 is the continuation of when Emmanuel said, thank the Father for hiding these things from the wise and prudent. That's the continuation here. Now, there's another one that says too in Isaiah 29:11. And the vision of all has become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed. Right here, it's talking how we're not speaking this stuff out of our mouth. This is the word that's speaking out of us. So this is Isaiah 29:11, which we didn't even get into. It says, and the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, which is this man. Now we explained very critically in our last video, no longer do you say men, but children of Adam. And then you have to understand, well, what kind of children of Adam? Is it Israel or is it Gentiles? Deliver to one that is learned, saying, read this, I pray thee, right? Remember I said Old English means I beg you. I beg you. And he said, I cannot, for it is sealed. So you're seeing right here a story of, the man that delivered to one that is learned to one that is learned. That means to one that has the knowledge of Israel. So it's saying the book that is sealed, which men, which we now know, reading this verse, is Gentiles. These Gentiles are delivering unto one that is learned, unto a child of Israel, and saying, read this, I beg you. And these are what people were doing to Peter. Is this correct? Is this correct? Is this correct? And with the answer says, I cannot, for it is sealed. It doesn't mean I cannot, for I don't know how to read. It means I cannot because it's not correct. So if I start, this goes back to the whole 10 virgins. They have 5 have oil, which is manna, and 5 have no oil. And then they ask the 5 that have oil, can you give us some of your oil? And they're like, no, because if I allow you to partake in the things that I know of, you're going to try to deceive me. And you're going to take my oil away. At least I have nothing. So that's why in the scripture in Isaiah, it's saying, I cannot, for it is sealed. And then it says right here, and the book is delivered unto him that is not learned, saying, read this, I beg you. And he said, I am not learned. This is Isaiah 29:12. And then the next one, wherefore the Lord said, which we now know is King of Israel, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth and with their lips do honor me, songs and praises, but have removed their heart from me. Why? If you love me, keep my what? Songs and praises? Commandments.
Yeah.
But they removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men. Precept of wolves in sheep's clothing, folks. Precept upon of Gentiles. This is the whole stuff we were talking about in the last video. We're not making this up. This is right here.
Yeah.
All we're doing is revealing, because if you say man, you have no clue which seed of Adam are we talking about, Israel or Gentiles. Remember, there's 2 seeds. I will put enmity between thy seed and thou seed. 2 nations are in thy womb. There's only two, folks, Israel and Gentiles. That's
Yeah.
it. The light and dark, two. So right here in Isaiah, this 29, what is it? I think 12 through 13. Yeah, 12. No, 11 to 13. So right there, we have this in this video. Go ahead and read it, 29 of Isaiah, chapter 29, verse 11 to 13. It's talking about a book. What did we talk about the last video with Enoch? Enoch talks about a book that's, can you reread that real quick? Do you have it with you, the Enoch? So what book are they delivering to one that is learned? We're going to read this what Enoch says.
All right, Enoch chapter 104. Now will I point out a mystery. Many sinners shall turn and transgress against the word of uprightness. They shall speak evil things, they shall utter falsehood, execute great undertakings, and compose books in their own words.
Right there. So what kind of book are these people giving to a child of Israel that is learned? They're giving them those books of their own understanding, saying, read this. And what is the response? I am learned. I cannot, for it is sealed. It's not for me. But then they give it to a book that the book to one that it is not learned. That means doesn't know the truth. And it says it's the precept of men, which is Gentiles.
Yeah, and then we didn't even get into in Zechariah, it talks about a flying scroll, which is the Bible going forth and being a curse unto the land.
Go ahead.
All right. Zechariah chapter 5, verse, I'll just start at 1. Then I turned and lifted up my eyes and lifted, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof is 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For every one that stealeth shall be cut off, as on the side according to it. And every one that sweareth shall be cut off on the side that according to it. And I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief, and in the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with timber and thereof, and the stones thereof.
So we have what chapter was that? What book?
Zechariah
So hold on.
5.
We have one I read in Isaiah. This is Isaiah. Craig just got done reading one in Ezekiel and one in the book of Enoch. All three. So if the book of Enoch is incorrect, folks, then how come it's lining up with the canon here? We have these three areas in the book, and even Daniel's one is 12 and 4, which says, "O thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end, the last day. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase." Not good knowledge, bad knowledge shall increase, because the book is sealed. And it just says in Isaiah, I cannot read it, for it is sealed.
Yeah.
So right here, these people who are trying to understand the sealed book, it's a curse to them, because there's only one person that's to reveal it. That is the Comforter that's spoken of in John, who is the true Savior, which all the disciples are referring to, because they know that Emmanuel is going to be in the Comforter.
All right, I'm going to go back really quick into Zechariah too and read this. This is chapter 8 of Zechariah, verses 12 through 14. Yea, they made their hearts as an adamant stone, lest they should hear the law and the words which the Lord of hosts has sent in his spirit by the former prophets. Therefore came a great wrath from the Lord of hosts. Therefore it had come to pass that as he cried, they would not hear. So they cried, and I would not hear, saith the Lord of hosts. But I scattered them with a whirlwind among all the nations whom they knew not. Thus the land was desolate. We can get into desolation of abomination after them, and no man passed through nor returned, for they laid the pleasant land desolate.
Yeah, it still is.
Yeah. So the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel is the days of darkness when this book is a curse to them.
Hmm.
Books, I should say that plural, but you know what I'm saying. And I mean, it says right here, they made their heart an adamant stone. They didn't want to hear the law. They didn't want to hear the prophets. And, Emmanuel predicted this, they will gather unto them their false teachers and their false prophets, and they will not hear my word. And then,
Well, here's the thing too. If we go into further, can you go to Isaiah 29:14? And I'm going to go to John 16:7-8. So
29.
go ahead. 29:14.
Therefore, behold, I will proceed to do a marvelous work among the people, even a marvelous work and a wonder, for the wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent men shall be hid. Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord, and their works are in the dark, and they say, who seeth us and who knoweth us?
Now I'm going to go and explain exactly what time period and who is going to call them out. So we go to John chapter 16:7-8. And it says right here in John chapter 16:7-8, nevertheless I tell you the truth. It is expedient for you that I go away. It's expedient for you that I die. Okay. So why are you glorifying the crucifixion? He's telling you it's better that I go. For if I go not away, for if I do not die, the Comforter, which is the true Savior, will not come unto you. But if I depart, I will send him unto you. So he had to be crucified. He had to die. And this is why he got mad at Peter when Peter told him, don't go down to Jerusalem because you'll die. And what was Emmanuel's response? Get behind me, wicked person. It says, get behind me, Satan, which means in Peter's heart was wicked towards Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Because Emmanuel is very clear, I have to do this or you will have no salvation. So Peter was trying to stop that. And then next one goes, and when he is come, he will reprove the world of sin and of righteousness and of judgment. So who's doing this work that's going to be done in Isaiah? The Comforter is going to call out your sins.
Yeah.
But you've been teaching lies, you pastors and prophets, that everything's done on a cross. All you have to do is believe in the name and he'll rapture you up. You are a lying, deceiving manipulator. You pastors and prophets and priests. You are killing people. You are killing people. You're stealing the word. You're making a false covenant with people. You are making people not do the Sabbath, which is killing again. You are teaching them to do idolatry and adultery. You're breaking every single law.
Yeah.
Every single 10 laws you are breaking. You are the wolves. You pastors and priests who are teaching falsely. I'm calling you out.
And then in that same chapter, verse 13, it says, "Howbeit that when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth. For he shall not speak of himself, but whatever he shall hear, that shall he speak, and he will show you things to come. He shall glorify me, for he shall receive of mine, and shall show it unto you. All things that the Father hath are mine. Therefore said I, that he shall take of mine, and I shall show it unto you. A little while, and ye shall not see me, and again a little while ye shall see me, because I go to the Father."
Which will be the last Adam.
Yeah. Yeah, he's speaking in where was that? I saw that just earlier today. Matthew.
What part?
Well, where we're at earlier. Anyway, I think it was. Anyway, I can't remember where I saw that.
Was it 8? I mean, what was the verse about?
Well, it was about like going to the Father and then coming back, but it was in like a different kind of language. Sorry about that. You can talk. I don't have it.
You mean where he talks about I must go for a little bit?
Man, I don't remember where it was. Maybe it's in my notes.
You talking about where Peter got mad at him?
No, it's here it is. Matthew 11:27. All things are delivered unto me of the Father, and no man knoweth the Son but the Father. Neither knoweth any man the Father save the Son, and he whoever the Son will reveal him. So the Father again will be revealed through this temple, and he was basically trying to say that I'm revealing the Comforter, but this was before he told them. They weren't quite ready. And then in chapters of John reveals what he reveals him. He calls him the Comforter. I mean, he's saying, I gotta go. I mean, that was as much of a revealing as they were gonna get. Right? I gotta go so he can come, the Comforter. So he says, I know him. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father, and I must go. So who's coming? If I and the Father are one, and I must go, the Father's coming. He's the Comforter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
See. So I don't know where I found the bear part, but I'm going to read 2 different things to back you up. I just deleted one.
And then he does it in John 15:1, he says, I am the true vine, my Father is the husbandman. And husbandman, I understand to be like the gardener, the one that made the vine,
So,
planted.
to back you up on what you're saying right here, Matthew 16:21, from that time forth began Emmanuel to show unto his disciples how that he must go on to Jerusalem and suffer many works, many things, for of the elders and the chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised again the third day. So right there, he's telling you, I must go so the comforter comes. So right there, third day does not mean a literal third day in our time.
Yeah.
I must go for till so the comforter comes. When Emmanuel came back, did he reveal anything after he was in the tomb? No. So you are worshiping the sign. And that goes further into John chapter 16, let's start 28 and then go down. I came forth from the Father and am come into the world, come into flesh again. So I came forth from the Father and am come into the world again. I leave the world and go to the Father. So constantly, this is the Father who's coming. Because he said, I and the Father are one.
Yeah.
And his disciples said to him, stop, now speak yourself plainly and speak no proverb. So we know throughout the entire New Testament, he wasn't revealing anything. He was speaking proverbs. Now are we sure that you know all things, and need not that any person should ask you. By this we believe that you came from the Father. Again, what if he's saying Father? Why change it to God? I mean, it should be the same word. Emmanuel answered them, do ye now believe? And so this is where he's getting angry. Behold, the hour comes, yea, it is now come, that you shall be scattered, every child to his own, and shall leave me alone. Right there, he's basically telling his own people that they're going to be scattered and forsake him. How? Going back to the whole thing we just read, it's Isaiah 29 and in Enoch. There is going to be a great
Zechariah, the scattering right here.
Yeah. And it says, ye shall leave me alone, which it means to forsake and forget. And yet I am not alone because the Father is with me.
Yeah.
These things have I spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace, rest. In the world ye shall have tribulation. So right there, now why do you have tribulation? Hell, because you made a covenant with hell and death, with lies and falsehood. So you have the sword, you have the plague, you have all that stuff that we talked about in the last video. But be of good cheer, be of strong comfort. I have overcome who? The nations. So he's overcome these people that have been lying to you. So have good cheer, have good comfort, because to know you will not be stuck in this hell like situation forever. You won't be knowing the truth and can do nothing about it and have to face your enemies and not be able to judge them. I will come and you will have that time to destroy your enemies. That's what he's saying right there. So, I mean, right there is telling you that there's going to be a period where you're going to have to listen to lies and falsehood. You will have to sin. But I will come and destroy the sin. It just told you in the other verse of John, who is going to destroy sin?
Comforter.
Exactly, because he's in the comforter. It's not that he destroyed it on the cross.
Yeah.
So you made light your what is that one? You made light your refuge and sin your where is that one at?
That was Isaiah 27 or 28 or something. Yeah, 28:15 of Isaiah. Because ye have said, we have made covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us, for we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood we have hid ourselves.
Continue.
And therefore thus saith Israel the Father, behold, I lay in Zion, Israel, for a foundation, a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone. A sure foundation that believeth shall make not haste. Upon this rock I build my people, upon this stone. Judgment will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet, and the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies, and the waters shall overflow the hiding place. And your covenant with death shall be disannulled, and your agreement with hell shall not stand. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, then you shall be trodden down by it.
Go on. So continue on from there. We go to Revelation. That's the one that I really wanted. Revelation chapter 6, verse 8. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. So who's this him? We're talking about the false teachers. Those who are trying to give a book that's polluted to people who are believing false precepts.
Yeah.
It says, and power is given unto them, false teachers, wolves in sheep's clothing, over the fourth part of the earth to kill. So these are your pastors and priests in your churches.
Yes.
To kill with sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth. So right here, what are we talking about in Revelation 6:8? We go back to John 16 and 33. These things have I spoken unto you, that in me you might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation. What's the detailed tribulation things you're going to face? The killing, the sword, the hunger, and the death.
Yeah. And power was given to them, and these are the days of darkness that we talk about. I mean, Emmanuel was killed. Israel is then scattered throughout the whole world. And in the last day, the Comforter comes, and he is king over all the nations where they were scattered. So we're talking the whole world.
And then they who hate the truth, because their sins have to be shown, will call him the Anti, and that's how he becomes the thief to them.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
So, back to churches. They have the missionary, they put churches in every corner of the globe. And then it's spoken of a fullness of the Gentiles must first come, and that is a fullness of sin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which
Correct.
is, we're in that day now.
Because nothing is beyond their imagination that sin that they can do. So that was during the Tower of Babel. And that's what, there's nothing beyond their imagination. I mean, look at your strip clubs. Look at your, you can buy sinful toys to do a whole bunch of lustful things with. I mean, nothing is beyond their imagination of sin.
Mm-hmm.
It's really bad. And that's why he says, have good cheer, for when I come, I will destroy all this. So don't think this will last forever. Don't think you have no hope.
Yeah. I will not forsake you. I will not leave you without a comforter.
So there's a lot, probably more other stuff within, the Bible, but we pretty much hit on, I think, a nutshell in this video to back up the first video that the Bible has been messed with. Now, it's for a reason, but you have to understand that if you're listening to someone who's telling you that everything in the book, every word is how it's supposed to be, and you should not change it, at least you have a curse. It's already been changed. It's already a curse. So that goes to tell you, their fruits, their works. Leave those pastors then, because they're blind. The blind will lead the blind.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where we're going to end this video. I think we're going to obviously keep talking about this. It's not like we're done with this subject, but we had to get into it because we are going to get into some deeper meat. We're going to get into more revealing as we move forward. So I hope you watch these videos, and because where we're going next, if you go there first, you're going to have a hard time because you're not going to understand when we reveal something to you.
Because like what my brother Craig is saying, to understand Revelation and Daniel, a lot of Revelation, you can't read it like how you see it and understand it. It's sealed.
Yeah.
You have to change certain things around to really understand what it's truly saying. Pastors won't do it. That's why they fed you this lie about some kind of beast, fantasy
Dragon,
beast. Yeah,
beast.
and a dragon, and I mean, the looks like a lamb, speaks like a dragon. Well, who is that? That's your pastors.
Yeah.
It says a piece in a different language, which is wolves in sheep's clothing. So the way that they're teaching Revelation is not the way you're supposed to understand it. So there's a lot of revealing in Revelation, and you have to understand first that the Bible has been altered so that the truth is hidden from the darkness. So that's how you know if the light is here, there has to be a revealing, a changing in something. In order to reveal something, you have to change something.
Yeah. And he says, I will make all things known to my servants, my people. I will reveal all things unto you. I will not leave you without comfort. I will not forsake you. I will give you the words out of my mouth of my prophet that is to come. And when you guys hear this videos that we're going to be doing in the near future of Revelation, you have never heard this before. So we had to do a setup to those videos of Revelation and Daniel. And I hope you continue to spread this word to whoever. Word of mouth is very important to us. Thank you for watching these videos. If you did, again, leave comments to us. We'll try to answer them promptly. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments. But yeah, we're reliant on you as Israel to spread this word.
Well, it's our job. I mean, if you don't spread it, and I mean, if what we're saying is wrong, then what have you been spreading already? So, I mean, my point to that is, if you're already spreading lies, then what are you worried about? Obviously, I'm not trying to be mean about it, I'm just being realistic. So that's what the whole prophecy is. You're supposed to spread something that's completely different from what these churches have been teaching throughout from after the crucifixion. You're going to be preaching something that's different, just like Emmanuel preached something that was different from the Pharisees. So you're looking for something that's different. That's a clue there for you.
Yeah. I mean, the Father calls himself a thief. Well, why would he do that? Because he comes in and he's stealing what you think is your reward, this earthly rewards that you're getting, and he reveals a truth to you that cuts like a two-edged sword and reveals you the truth, and you hate that guy because he revealed that to you, and you call him anti, you call him devil, Satan, and a host of other nasty little things. I mean, if you go back to your church and you say this word to them and tell them what you learned, they're going to call us these names because they're going to pull you back in. We're revealing their sin. They don't like it. They don't like being judged. They don't like their sin being revealed. And I think again, if they don't want to hear it, your best bet is just to walk away.
Mhm.
Yeah, don't be fooled by what they might say, like, "Oh, brother, don't worry about it," or "Sister, don't worry about what those guys say. It's okay. Come back here. You'll be right back where you were."
And it's narrowing a trap.
It's a snare and a trap.
Well, take care, everyone, and understand that this is a work we all have to do. Is just go out to all nations and preach. Well, part of that preaching means to judge. So you're supposed to call out everything, not what you want to call out. You're supposed to call out everything that is sinful within yourself and everyone around you. So that's the work that we're supposed to do. So it's not really an option. It's the work that you're going to want to do because you're going to want to be the light. That's what the work Emmanuel did, excuse me, the prophets and the disciples. I mean, John got killed 3 times for doing this. So it's a work that we should not fear people, that we should not fear their anger or fear them trying to kill us. We know what the end game is, and we know we're just going to come back if they kill us. So remember, it says in Revelation, they tormented them. Our fathers of Israel tormented these people day and night. We're supposed to do the same by constantly calling out their sins. They didn't torment them by praise and songs. The prophets didn't do that. They tormented them by speaking the truth day and night. So remember that. And that's what Emmanuel did. And that's what the disciples did. And we know in Acts, the Pharisees hated them. So you're expected to be hated a lot more than loved in the beginning. And that's where we're at. We're still at the beginning of this whole thing. So understand, be strong. You know what you have to do. You know you have to go out and preach, and you don't need to fear your enemies. You need to fear the Father who works them and you and built this world the way that he did throughout time. That's who you fear, and your way to fear him is by following his laws and commandments and doing what he wants you to do. That's why Paul talked about, I know we should be, but that's why Paul talked about, he went around killing people. He was doing dark works. And
Yeah,
he realized after his eyes were open, there was nothing he can do. He was supposed to do that.
yeah,
And then now he's supposed to do the works of light. So if someone says, well, wait a minute, how can you say, the light can't do works of darkness? Because it says, you were, number one, Paul's sins were forgiven from the time he was born because he was already light. He just didn't recognize it, nor did the other people around. That's the difference. And then when that light was revealed to everyone, it was showing that there's nothing you can do. So that's the same thing as saying, well, why were the children of Israel scattered? They were supposed to be scattered. They're supposed to be dead. They're supposed to be lying in the streets for 3 days. They're supposed to be following idols because that's what he commanded would happen. That was the prophecy he foretold. So it has to happen that way. So if the children of Israel became, doing evil things, then how much more when they reveal that they're Israel and start preaching the truth. So you see that this scenario with Paul, it's going to repeat on a huge, huge and greater scale. And that's what the things you're looking for. You're looking for people to rise up from the lies, calling out their pastors, calling out everyone else, being willing to go against their family, be willing to go against everything that is wrong in this world. And that's going to leave you alone in some ways. But that's why you're told, we are here. Reach out. We need to build this community. We need to rise up, and we need to do it together as is prophesied. So take care.
All right. Bye, everybody.